The PlayAction Podcast is fueled by Picasso's Pizza, where every night is pizza night.
The Bills' offense already needs to reset in some fashion, and now they'll do so without Dawson Knox for the foreseeable future. How will they adjust?
The Bills' defense felt the impact of injuries in New England and now have a short week coming up. Can Sean McDermott piece it together?
And that short week brings them up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We look at that matchup and what it means for the Bills. The PlayAction Podcast starts now.
The Buffalo Bills offense is under fire from all directions, especially the opponents. And now Dawson Knox is out for an extended period due to wrist surgery. Katherine, let's use that as the jumping off point. Knox out, big impact, right?
It is for sure. Sean McDermott, when he was telling us the news that Dawson Knox will miss some time, said he doesn't know an exact timeline, but, with surgery, obviously they'll be without him for the foreseeable future. There's kind of two things to it. Losing Knox himself, but also what that means for 12 personnel, which this team has been running so much. They had Dalton Kincaid back against the Patriots. He had one of his best games. So I think just kind of what will the offense look like now that they had shifted to use two tight end sets so often, and now Quentin Morris also is working through an ankle injury. Ken Dorsey hinted a little bit at, still trying to mix other guys in to do that. But what will this team look like for the foreseeable future when they had shifted so hard to using both Knox and Kincaid?
Yeah, they're at, according to Buffalo News charting, the 3 wide receiver is 51%. The two tight ends is 31%. But keep in mind, the last two games, because of the injuries, the 3 wide was up. It was the two tight ends was up at 48% earlier in the year. So, it means more 11 personnel. But more 11 personnel with Kincaid on the field doesn't help your blocking. So they probably are going to have to rely more on the passing. You would think they'd have to rely a little more on the passing game. And I think that's generally a good thing. They need, I think they need to try to open it up a little more. I mean, there's so many avenues we can go down here. Kincaid had 8 catches against New England. You would think that would have unlocked the offense, but the Bills are not getting enough contributions from their non-Diggs wide receivers. Gabe Davis, 1 catch. Very disappointing. They have not utilized Hardy enough, I don't think. So Davis, Hardy, Shakir, it's time for them to be utilized more. Can they be?
Yeah, it's the Knox injury comes at such an interesting time where the offense is just not clicking in general already. Something's just been off the last few weeks with the slow starts. Whether or not they're able to get going later in the game, hasn't been early enough. So I think it's, like you said, they need contributions from other guys no matter what happens with Dawson Knox missing time, but now it's a little more urgent and it's happening on a short week.
Some of these slow starts, turnover, you can chalk some of it up to, turnovers, guys were open, but this New England loss, I pin more on the offensive scheme and Ken Dorsey than the other games. New England was missing their top 3 edge rushers. They're the number 2 blitzing team in the league going into the game. You had to think that they had to bring pressure to get any heat on Josh Allen. That's exactly what they did. They blitzed 20 times, and the Bills handled it very poorly. And that, I think is on the coaching.
Yeah, we've heard Sean McDermott continue to voice his confidence in Ken Dorsey. Heard from Ken earlier this week of just kind of what they're trying to figure out. But I think there's still a lot unanswered for this offense at this stage when the expectations were very high. And, maybe it's not necessarily fair to compare just to what the expectations were, but either way, they're not operating at what they should be able to be doing.
Another thought here. And again, I think that the things they've tried to do make a whole lot of sense, meaning have Kincaid improve the middle of the field passing game and use more 12. I have no problem with that. But, one thing that we have seen the last 3 games is the opponent, and this will tie into the defense, has been able to hold the ball. And the Bills are being forced to matriculate down the field, and possessions have been shortened. So the Bills need more possessions. So this, with 11 personnel, I think it's time to air it out a little more. It'll be interesting to see if Sean McDermott likes that idea, because his defense is banged up and could need help staying off the field. But, like the Giants game, the offense scored on 2 possessions in the second half. They only had 3 or 2, and they only had 2 basically. The offense they need to pick up the pace. The offense needs more plays, more possessions.
Marcus, you just mentioned this Buffalo Bills defense is also still banged up. I think it's showing a little bit more. Von Miller just played 6 snaps against the New England Patriots. So what do you think kind of is going into his usage right now? What do you make of that?
It's a worry. I mean, I think limited usage of Von Miller this point of the season is fine. If it's, just due to keep resting him and easing him in. I don't care how much Von Miller plays until December. However, the fact that his time was restricted, he wasn't moving that well. He was limping after one. He had the one pressure he had 6 plays. He had 1 pressure. He had a hit on the quarterback. But he got up moving slow, limping a little. So Von said he was fine after the game. I don't care how much Von plays before December or January. The defense needs to figure it out without him. If he's, I do care if he has somehow tweaked himself, which he says he hasn't, but something to keep watching.
Right. We heard from Sean that it's more just finding different ways to manage it. What exactly that means, he didn't play in the second half. And I think that's where it's a little more, okay, what exactly, what's the plan for him going in? Did it meet it? Eric Washington talked a bit more about how he thinks he should be good to go for Thursday. It was just an in-game decision. But
obviously he wasn't feeling great. He would have played more. If he was feeling wonderful, he would have played more. That's all there is to it.
Well, and it comes at a time when the defense is so banged up all over as well. They were without Ed Oliver, already without Daquan Jones. Jordan Phillips is now on the injury report with a back injury, though just limited. So we'll see how that trends. But again, a short week where they're already so banged up on defense. And that's just the D-line. They're banged up across the board. So it's a team with a lot of injuries right now.
Yeah, I think that they definitely missed Ed Oliver. There's no doubt, and that's no surprise. I thought Tim Settle actually played pretty good. I thought Jordan Phillips and Poona Ford were less effective, and Kendall Vickers was ineffective. So they're going to have to. There isn't a solution to that entering this week's game. They need to beat Tampa. Without them, I'd be surprised if Ed Oliver plays. The defense, I don't give them a mulligan for the injuries. Jordan Poyer makes what should have been the play of the game, forces a fumble. Bills take the lead. You let Mac Jones drive 75 yards in 2 minutes. When if you give up a tying field goal and go to overtime, fine, okay. But you give up the touchdown to lose the game. Terrible. And really it's a worry. The offense is going to have to play good this week because, the Tampa has 2 good wide receivers. So, yeah, the defense is piecing it together.
You brought this up already, but how do you think time of possession works into that? Where, how long do you want this defense on the field right now if the offense is scoring fast?
It's a double-edged sword. You can certainly think of them make the case for the offense helping keeping the Bills defense off the field, but I am not in that camp. Let's see some points, get a lead, let Leonard Floyd and Greg Rousseau rush the passer. So the Bills did try to blitz a fair amount, 12 times against the Pats, and it didn't work. Mac Jones was 8 of 9 for like 113 yards against the Bills' blitzes. So that wasn't very good. And there's an issue at the weak side linebacker, Matt Milano's spot, because Dorian Williams gave up some plays, gave up was late to recognize a 33-yard catch and run. And they benched him after that series. So I still think they should keep force-feeding Dorian Williams some playing time because he has upside. But that'll be a fascinating thing to watch, whether they do that.
Eric Washington's perspective on, what we call that benching there was interesting, where he was saying right now they're kind of in a weird spot where they've got two guys there, different skill sets. And, one of them is a rookie who's still getting used to the speed of the NFL. So he phrased it more as kind of, you let him take some time to reset within a game. Whatever.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that means, exactly. It's the same conclusion of he's no longer playing. But I thought, it was interesting.
They clearly said, get him out of there. And Terrell Dotson did tackle well, but hey, he's a rookie. You're going to live with, he's got to grow on the job, Osiris Torrance didn't have a great game against Christian Barmore. Barmore is great. He gives people problems. Fine, live, that's a great learning experience. Now, the team, you got to worry about the team, but it's a weaker position. There's no doubt about it. The weak side linebacker without Matt Milano is degraded. The Tampa Bay Bucks come to town for Thursday night football. Great news in the sense that the Bills have a short turnaround to get this bad taste out of their mouth. Bad news in the sense that they have all of one full practice, to solve their issues. Katherine, what do you think about this short turnaround?
Yeah, I think to your point, there's some balance there where after the game Sunday against the Patriots, Mitch Morse was saying something similar of, on the one hand, yeah, let's get back on the field. Let's play again. Let's get this game behind us fully and just turn to the next opponent. But when there are so many things, both from a play calling perspective, an injury perspective that they're working through, the short week's a little tough there too. I think we can start with Bills offense versus the Bucks defense. Some of it, we had talked the previous week about how much Ken Dorsey was looking ahead and scheming up the Bucks, but sometimes you can only look so far ahead, is what he was saying with the Patriots coming up. So now, short week to kind of get this offense reset against Tampa Bay. Mark, how do you see that matchup?
Well, it's a good matchup in the sense that the Bills, obviously this is a must win, and the Bills should win. The Bucks do have some talent. Their wide receivers are outstanding, but they're 29th in the league in rushing. The Bills should make them one-dimensional. Their defense still has some good players from their Super Bowl of several years ago, but they're 27th against the pass. So no excuses. This is a good opponent, and the Bills need to take advantage. The most interesting element of this game is the Bills just had trouble handling New England's pressure, and here comes the Bucks with head coach Todd Bowles, who is one of the pressure happiest coaches in the NFL. The Bills know him well from his time with the Jets. And they are, I believe, number 3 right now in blitz rate. So this is great. This is awesome. The Bills Ken Dorsey and Josh Allen can show us how well they can actually handle pressure.
Yeah, like you mentioned, some of those guys have been in the defense for a while, so know it so well. It's an interesting team where kind of they half rebuilt. I don't know what
Yeah.
exactly you phrase it for that, but they're in between where they didn't totally tear everything down and start all over, but they still have so many new pieces. Baker Mayfield, obviously. Mark, what do you make of how he's playing, how the Bills can go up against him?
Yeah, like you mentioned, they're in some kind of transition after Tom Brady. You would think that they might want the best thing to do would be a total reset, but that's not what they did because they have good players. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are an outstanding 1-2 receiver core that are going to be a problem for the Bills cornerbacks. But Baker they have kind of revived Baker Mayfield a little bit. The book on Baker the last like 3 or 4 years was terrible in the pocket, handling pressure, like one of the 5 easiest quarterbacks to sack. And lo and behold, here they come, and they're number 2 in sack rate, the second best in sack rate. So credit the Bucs coaches with doing a great job of making Baker's biggest weakness not a weakness anymore. And as a side note, just if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, it's just crazy ironic that Baker Mayfield is playing better than Deshaun Watson right now. But I digress.
He also, when you mention him handling his own weaknesses, he's had such a problem in the past with turnovers, but has, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions through 6 games. So he's cut down there as well. So it's, quarterback problems can be solved.
Yeah, I mean, really, even so, their offensive line, they have a real elite talent at left tackle and Tristan Wirfs, top draft pick, but their line is only okay. The Bills' defensive line still should win this matchup. The Bucs' run game should not go very far. And Josh Allen, can the Bills get off to a better start? I mean, there's another, an opponent where the Bills should get the upper hand quickly. And it's a fascinating one. Whereas if the Bills' offense goes like 3 and out the first series, there's going to be boos. I mean, the pressure is going to mount on the Bills' offense.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game and it's coming up fast. It'll be here Thursday night. So we'll have all your coverage ahead of the game, during the game, afterwards as well. So make sure you're reading buffalonews.com and subscribing to this podcast wherever you get it.
Treat your team to the most flavorful pizza on game day at Picasso's Pizza. 4 great Western New York locations: Williamsville, West Seneca, Lancaster, and Blaisdell. Picasso's. We are Buffalo's Pizza since 1980. Order online today at picassospizza.net.